Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today, working through day 7 of Witness to the Wonder from Bythewell4God. I'm just going to pull out my card here. I have this envelope that I'm going to be working in today. If you saw my setup video, I created kind of a hybrid junk journal disc bound system, and so the day for today is going to actually be this envelope that I created. So I'm just pulling out all of the pieces that I have that coordinate with this day, the little pocket, and there's a scripture card, and now I'm going to pull out some of the coordinating pattern papers just to try to get a feel for what I might want to use in this day. I also have a flashcard there as well. And the first thing that I'm going to do is stamp out the title for this day, which is David. We're looking at David's life today. And so I just stamped it out with that wonderful alpha set, and then I'm trimming that down. I stamped it on that pattern paper, and I'm going to use that on the very, very front of this this envelope, and just kind of trimming that down just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some archival ink. This is in the color coffee, and I'm just going to ink around the edges. And I also went around all of the edges on the envelope on both sides. And now I'm looking at these tickets. These are from the printables that you can get to coordinate with the kit, and I'm just trying to decide kind of what I want to use. And there's this ticket on here, and so I'm just gonna trim that down, and then it's kind of got like the rough edges of it, like a torn ticket. So what I'm going to do is I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers punch here, and I'm just making the little holes, and then I'm just kind of trimming along the edge, and that kind of gives it that, you know, like that postage stamp look, or like the torn ticket edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and distress this as well. And then these two pieces are going to form the outside, the front part of this envelope. And I'm going to also put a little bit of this pattern paper. This is some of the scraps that I have. I'm just going to kind of measure. We're just creating a border, a vertical border. So I just trimmed down a couple of pieces of this pattern paper, and then I'm using my ATG here to adhere this down. I'm just going right up to the edge of this envelope. And then because it wasn't long enough, I had to cut a second piece. And so I just cut them the same length, and then I'm going to glue this down, and then I'll trim off the excess little bits here. And then that will be ready to go. I just wanted a little bit more color kind of on that front little section right there. And so then I have my tag and the title here. I'm just kind of deciding how I want to put those on. And then I'm also going to pull those bows, those from the digital papers as well, and I just trimmed out the little blue one. And then I'm going to glue everything down. These pieces they overhang just a little bit off of the angle part, but it's not a problem. You don't really notice it when it's open, so I'm fine with it hanging off a little bit. So I'm just kind of deciding my placement here, and then I'm going to use my Barely Arts glue to glue that down. I decided to use the liquid adhesive here just because I want to be able to kind of slide the pieces around a little bit and get the placement right. So now if you open that first flap of the envelope, I have this one section, and I'm going to use this part for this journaling card. It's actually not a journaling card. It's from the scripture cards that you could get that coordinate with this kit. And this just has one of the scriptures from this day on it. So I'm just kind of getting a feel for where I'm going to want to put that. And then the pocket, this is actually a free printable that you can get from the website. So they did a set of pockets this time, and that you can just, you just go check out like normal, and you can get those for free if you're interested. And then now I'm just I decided that this bottom flap here, I was just going to turn that into a little pocket. So I just put glue on both of the sides, and then I'm going to use that to create a pocket for another journaling card. There are several scriptures that were referenced in this day devotional, so I went ahead and just wrote them all out on different note cards and things, and now I just kind of need to find a place for all of them in my little envelope here. So I already know that on this front side I want to put this journaling, I keep calling it a journaling card, it's just a scripture card, You could use it for journaling too, but it's a separate set that coordinates with the kit. And I'm going to stamp. So just a quick tip here, if you're having trouble getting those stamps out of that pocket, all you have to do is pull the little paper and put it in front of the stamps, and it'll come right out. But anyway, this is from the stamp set that coordinates with the kit. It actually comes with the kit, and it says Wonder, and it has a bunch of different fonts. And so I'm going to stamp that with some Distress Oxide ink, and this is in Victoria Velvet. It's really, really difficult to see on camera here. It's pretty subtle in person too, but it has more, you can see it a little bit easier in person, obviously. But I just went ahead and stamped that down, and then just up at the top, I'm going to kind of restamp some of the little words. It has Wonder just in a bunch of different places. You can kind of see it better here. And so I'm just stamping just a few more of the Wonders so they kind of trickle down from the top. And then I'm going to use my card here, and I felt like it just needed a little something else down at the bottom, so I'm pulling out these faux washi strips that come in the kit as well, and I'm going to take the blue one, and I'm just going to kind of figure out where I'm going to place my card, and then I'm just going to tuck this kind of so that it's underneath it a little bit, and that'll just kind of it just helps ground the card so it doesn't feel like it's just floating in the middle. Anyway, and it just adds some other color to the background as well. So I just ran that along there and trimmed off the excess, and then now I'm going to glue this down. Again, I'm using liquid glue just to give me a few seconds to kind of really position these exactly where I want, because I have to make sure I'm not covering up those holes on the left side, but I also have to make sure that I'm not too far over so that my envelope won't close on the right side. So it was a little bit tricky. I had to end up trimming down this card a little bit to get that to fit in there. But and now I'm just going to stamp that same Wonder stamp just a little bit underneath all of the washi tape on this front card, and that will do it for this section of this. Again, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see it a little bit better in person. And then on the inside, I'm using that where that overhang is just a little bit so that I can have enough space to fit this pocket over there. So I'm just adding some more adhesive, and then I'm going to glue this so that I'm not covering up the holes again. And then this is going to be a little tuck spot for the flashcard to go in. And I have the scripture written on the back of that flashcard, and it will just kind of sit in there. I'm going to leave it out until my glue dries, just in case I don't want it to get stuck in there. And then these were actually part of the freebie that came. These are little journaling spots, and they have lines on the back, and so I just wrote it so that when I flip this part of the envelope up, you'll be able to read the scripture. And I want to put some interest behind this as well, so I went ahead and used one of the flower ephemera pieces, and I put some ink around the outside of that, and this is gonna go here on the top of this little flap, and then I'm just kind of making sure everything is lined up. But first I want to put this piece down. This is also from the digitals, this little Polaroid. I just went ahead and wrote out one of the scriptures on here, and I'm kind of doing this so that I can line all of these up so that this piece will actually end up kind of being the background for that other piece. So you'll kind of see kind of how it goes here. And this piece, again, I just went through this journaling card with my hole punch and punched out all those little sections to make it look like the postage stamp. So I'm gluing this ephemera piece down here with, again, just using some liquid glue. And then I'm going to trim off the excess where it kind of hangs over. Ordinarily, I would leave that, but it will cover up my words if I leave it. So I'm going to trim this down. And then I'm going to put glue on the bottom section of this journaling spot here where I don't have the scripture. And then I'm kind of going to do this backwards, but I'm just holding it in place. And then I'm just making sure that this piece lines up with the piece that's underneath it. That really wasn't necessary, but in my brain, that just seemed like the right thing to do. So that when it's closed, it looks like there's a background there. And then I noticed here at this point that my pocket was a little bit crooked, but it was glued down. There wasn't really nothing I could do about it at this point, so I'll fix that in a second. But again, I'm using this bottom section as a pocket. So I have one of those spiritual prescription cards that will just tuck in there. And then I have this little piece. This is the one that I cut off from another day of the ephemera, and I just trimmed it down and glued it on my little Polaroid section up there. And then I tucked my prescription card in there. And then down at the bottom, I'm just going to add this other ephemera piece with this little bird, just to give that bottom some interest. I thought about putting something up here on the top, but I just kind of felt like it kind of having a break for your eye was going to be helpful there. So I didn't put anything there. And then I always print out the pieces that you get. When you get the kit, you get digital files as well. And so I printed those out on clear sticker paper. And then I wanted to use that, but obviously that wouldn't show up on this craft cardstock that I'm using. So I put it on white paper, and then I just trimmed it out. And then I distressed it just a little bit and glued that down as well. And then I feel like I need a little bit up here in the top left-hand corner. So I'm just going to use this other element from the digitals. This is a really long piece, and then I'm going to just cut that in half, so I just have the 3 little birds on the left. I'm going to do the same thing. I will adhere that down to some white cardstock and then trim that down, cut it out, and then I will glue it down with some of that liquid adhesive as well. That's what I'm doing here. And I really like those little groups of the 3 birds. Just the size of them just worked really well for this page. So I'm just gluing those up there in the top corner, and I had to trim off a little bit of the excess there on the edge. And then down here on the bottom, I'm trying to deal with this section where my little pocket is a little bit crooked, and I thought I was going to use that ephemera piece, but in the end I decided to just put some mulberry paper underneath there. So I'm just running a little bead of glue and tucking some of this mulberry paper up underneath there, and it doesn't fix the fact that it's crooked, obviously, but it makes it a little less obvious, I guess, or at least to me it does. And then I had this little sticker that's a word fetty piece, and it says wonderful, and I just stuck that on there just to add a little bit of interest. And that is pretty much everything for my little pocket here. I'm showing you how it kind of folds back up. I decided to leave the backside blank because that's going to be facing the next day. So I may or may not put anything on there. I haven't decided, but for now I'm just going to leave that blank. So this is kind of how this little envelope works. So I have a little flip up and pockets, and then everything is just going to go. I'm going to show you how it kind of fits back here into my disc bound system here. And then it just snaps in there. And then once it's in there, it actually is better because obviously it keeps it closed. And so you can still open the flap and everything. And that's the great thing about this system. But anyway, if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That just helps other people find my channel. And until next time, bye.